Alright, imagine you're standing at the shore of a crystal clear lake in the middle of Grand Teton National Park, listening to nothing but the streaming water, chirping birds, and rustling of the leaves. There's no traffic, no phones, just stillness. Maybe it reminds you of a childhood camping trip, a first hike, or a moment of peace under a star-filled sky. These experiences, the beauty, the nostalgia, and the quiet peacefulness are what our national parks have to offer. But beyond the personal memories, these lands are also vital sanctuaries for wildlife. For many species, national parks are among the last safe places to live, migrate, and reproduce without constant threats of pollution, deforestation, or urban sprawl. Preserving these parks means protecting not just the landscapes we love, but the delicate ecosystems that countless animals depend on. Today, I want to share why protecting our national parks from environment degradation, underfunding, and commercial exploitation is not just important, it's essential for our environment, our wildlife, and our future. Having visited just a handful of America's 63 national parks, I've experienced firsthand how awe-inspiring it is to stand in the middle of how something so majestic could even exist. It's both humbling and heartbreaking to realize that these natural masterpieces, which have been protected for generations, are now at risk of being sold off, polluted, or destroyed. That's why protecting them isn't just important to me, it should matter to all of us. First, I'll explain the threats facing the national parks, then I'll show what can be done to address them. Finally, I'll help visualize what's at stake if we fail to act, and what we can preserve if we do. Let's start with the problems our national parks are facing today. So our national parks are under serious threat from environmental degradation, which is damaging the very ecosystems they were created to protect. According to the National Parks Conservation Association, in 2023, 97% of national parks suffer from harmful levels of air pollution. This pollution doesn't just blur scenic views, it damages forests, contaminates waterways, and harms both wildlife and visitors. In places like the Great Smoky Mountains and Sequoia National Park, ozone levels regularly reach unhealthy levels, putting stress on plant and animal life as well as visitors. On top of that, over half of our national parks face high-risk threats such as wildfires, droughts, invasive species, rising sea levels, all threatening native species and destabilizing the park's natural balance. Without intervention, these natural wonders and the life they support could be permanently damaged. And as if that's not enough, the National Park Service and the U.S. Forest Service are facing massive layoffs due to federal budget cuts, despite the fact that there is a maintenance backlog of over $22 billion and tourism rates continue to rise annually. These cuts will have major consequences for our public lands, including closed visitor centers, abandoned trails, understaffed emergency response teams, increased vandalisms, unmaintained restrooms, all jeopardizing both ecosystem integrity and the visitor's safety. But the good news is that there are solutions we can support to protect these parks. While our national parks face serious challenges, the good news is that we have real, practical solutions to protect them, starting with stronger federal investment and smarter policies. The Great American Outdoors Act of 2020 was a major step in the right direction. It provided crucial funding to address some of the National Parks Service's maintenance backlog. However, this was just a temporary fix. Our parks need long-term, consistent funding to maintain trails, upgrade facilities, and hire enough rangers to protect both the wildlife and visitors. Beyond funding, stronger environmental policies are essential to prevent commercial exploitation and development near protected lands. Regulations can limit activities proposed in the new Big Beautiful Bill, like mining, logging, and drilling in areas adjacent to parks that threaten fragile ecosystems. But it's not just up to the lawmakers. Individual actions matter too. Visitors can help by practicing responsible tourism, such as following the leave no trace behind principle, staying on trails, picking up trash, and respecting wildlife. Even small acts can help reduce the human footprint of our delicate environments. And finally, by raising awareness and contacting elected officials, citizens can influence policy and push for stronger protection of these national treasures. Now let's imagine the future, with and without national park protection. So I want you to imagine two very different futures. In one, we ignore the warning signs, we continue underfunding, overdeveloping, and neglecting our national parks. In this future, iconic wildlife species lose their habitats, and ancient forests are degraded beyond recovery. We face not only the irreversible loss of biodiversity, but also the disappearance of cultural and historical landmarks. But now, picture the other future, a future where we choose to act. In this version, our parks are protected and thriving. Clean air and water flow from well-preserved ecosystems, supporting not only plants and animals, but human communities as well. These parks remain sanctuaries where families come to explore, reflect, and connect with nature. These parks help foster a sense of national unity and shared heritage, offering future generations the same awe and wonder we feel the moment we pull off to the side of the road and see that iconic weathered national park sign, acting as a metaphor of all the stories and adventures these lands hold. The choice is ours, and what we do will shape which future becomes our reality. We've seen how pollution and climate stress threaten our parks, how policy reform and public involvement can help, and what the outcomes will be depending on our choice. Everything depends on what we do next. So I ask you, when you remember that moment of quiet under the trees, or the awe you felt looking up at a canyon, what will you do to protect that memory? What will you do to protect the land for the creatures that don't have the power to speak for themselves? Will you speak up, visit responsibly, support parks with action and advocacy? Because preserving our land isn't just preserving the national parks, it's preserving the places that ground us, inspire us, and bring us together as a nation. Let's ensure these natural cathedrals remain standing, not just for ourselves, but for everything and everyone that comes after us. And I want to end with this powerful quote that will hopefully put into perspective the magnitude of this manner. Only when the last tree has been cut down, the last fish has been caught, and the last stream poisoned, will we realize we cannot eat money. Thank you.